I'm Kimberly from Dirt Floor Fibers, and welcome back for part 2 of my Creative Space redo. Now, if you haven't gotten a chance to check out part 1 of the series, I recommend that you do that first. That'll give you a better idea of where I was starting from, and it makes the transformation that's happened so far so much more impressive. Now, if you do remember back to last time, we first had to identify that there was a problem, and the problem with my creative space was the fact that it was disorganized and so filled with stuff that it wasn't very efficient. I couldn't figure out where anything was. It was hard to get to what I needed. I couldn't add anything more to the space, and so I decided that something had to be done. Part 2, or step 2 rather, I had to figure out what it was that I wanted for my space. I had to figure out what my vision was. And I decided that I didn't want to spend any more money. I wanted to work just with what I had available, and I wasn't going to be worried about renovating the space, getting everything painted, making it look nice. I just wanted it to be functional. The other key piece was that I wanted everything to have a home. I wanted to be able to know exactly where everything was. When I used something, where did it go? So once I figured out, yes, I did have a problem and what I wanted to do about that problem, then it was the chance to just get started. So immediately after I finished that first video, I grabbed a cup of coffee, put on some tunes, and got to work. The first thing I did was just clear everything out of this space. That's minus the furniture. I did leave the furniture in here, but everything else had to go. And I think one of the key things to actually getting this part of the process done was to not make any decisions. I didn't sort anything, I didn't organize anything, I didn't make any sort of judgment on what it was that I had. I just got it out of the room. Now, I did do a little bit of sorting. The only thing that I did was if it was renovation related, so paint, tools, curtain rods I had taken down, anything like that went into my room across the hall, which I'm still working on painting, so all of the renovation stuff is over there. If it was obviously trash, I had a designated trash box out in the hallway, and trash just immediately got put in there. Everything else went straight into my guest room right down the hallway. Now, about halfway through the process, I started to get a little bit tired and a little bit bored, and I was like, well, I'm about halfway done. That's really good progress for today. Why don't I just take a break and come back to this? But I knew that I needed to keep going while I still had the momentum. So I told myself, no, you've just got to finish clearing out the room. You're not going to clean or organize or do anything else tonight. I promise self, just get this part finished. And I got to say, once I pushed through that initial feeling of, oh, I don't really want to do this anymore, it actually went really quick. As more stuff got moved out of the room, the more progress, the more change I could see, which motivated me to keep going. And actually, I had promised myself I didn't have to do anything else, but once all this stuff was out of the room, I was like, well, it'll only take me a couple of minutes to sweep and mop in here. Well, I swept and I mopped. It only took a couple of minutes. So I was like, I'm gonna dust all the surfaces. I dusted all the door jambs and the windowsills and all the table, my shelf. I'm like, well, that didn't take very long. And I actually started bringing up boxes of yarn from my kitchen and started to arrange them on my, no, that wasn't next. Then I rearranged all my furniture. So I was like, well, it's all clean. Might as well put everything where I wanted it to be. So then I moved all my furniture. Then I started bringing up stuff from downstairs because I was so excited to start putting it away. And then I realized I hadn't done this video to show you the progress first. So I stopped myself and then worked on another project. And it just seemed like the more I got into it, the easier it was to keep going. So I'm gonna turn you around and show you what kind of progress I've made so far. And I have to say, especially if you look at that first video, it only took me about an hour and a half to completely clean out the room, sweep, mop, all of that, and rearrange the furniture, and get distracted by starting to move stuff. So it really didn't take that long, and I'm really annoyed with myself that it took me so long just to get started, because I could have done an hour and a half of work months ago and saved me all of this annoyance. So let me go ahead and turn you around, and ta-da! This is what we have so far, and you can tell while my voice is so echoey, there is nothing in here. So this is the wall where the French doors were. Oh, the other thing I did too, before you might have seen all of the switch plate and electrical covers were off because I had been planning on painting. That, putting all those back on was also part of my hour and a half. So that got all finished. I also put together a stool. This is the same stool that I use at my spinning wheel downstairs. It's from IKEA. I got tired of carrying it up and down the stairs when I wanted the stool upstairs. So I bought another one from IKEA. It's been sitting in a box for months. I finally put that together as part of the hour and a half. My shelf that was out in the middle of the room is now tucked neatly into my closet. You can see where I started putting some of my base yarns out on the shelf. I'll probably put my bases on these two shelves and then unspun fiber up on those top two, but we'll have to see how that goes. I also pushed my dresser over against the wall. Haven't cleaned it out of linens yet, but I'll have to decide how I'm going to do that. I put my loom over in the window. It takes up the entire corner, but I should get plenty of natural light to be able to do my weaving over here. The only thing I'm concerned about is the amount of light that comes through those two windows. So either my projects that I'm working on, I'll have to finish them up pretty quickly, or I'll have to put up my curtains pretty soon, just so I can block out some of the light from shining onto unfinished projects. Over here, I have what was my kitchen table back in my apartment. I have a different kitchen table now, but it is kind of bar height, standing height, and so it's actually perfect for cutting out fabric or something like that, putting my sewing machine on it. And so I kept this when I moved into this house, figuring it'd make the perfect craft table. The stools that I've tucked underneath were actually already here in the house. If you remember last time I said the woman who had the house before me left a lot of her stuff behind. These two stools were part of what she left behind. But when I had my garage flood, I lost the stools that actually went with the table. And so instead of going out and buying new ones for something that was just a craft table, I just moved the chairs or the stools that she had left here into the room. And so yeah, this is basically what an hour and a half of work got me, and it looks great, and I can't wait to start bringing in my items. So I'll fill you in on that as I get started. So thanks for joining me for part 2 of my Creative Space redo, and part 3 will show you what it looks like when I start bringing all of my materials back into the room. See you next time.